Hey, welcome or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? I don't know. But what I do know is I am part of a YouTuber growth group, which is a very small group of very lovely ladies. We're all small channels, we all support each other. They are listed in my description box, and once you've watched my film, it'd be awesome if you pop over and watch one of theirs. Now, talking of my film, today this wonderfully smoky modern Renaissance style colour scheme was created with this. And now this is the Obsession Be Passionate About eyeshadow palette. And if you want to see exactly how well it fared, you're in exactly the right place. Grab a drink, grab a snack, put your feet up. Here it comes. Hey, welcome back from the intro. Right, I will have shown you this in the intro. This is the new Be Passionate About from Obsession, which is obviously one of the companies under the umbrella of Revolution that used to be Tam Beauty. I did show you this in my haul very briefly. If I remember, I'll link that video in the description. You do get a nice mirror, and the colours, you get a quite satisfying magnetic closure, and the colours remind me very much of Modern Renaissance. I have done swatches, I'll stick them up here now. Top row from my wrist to my elbow, or from left to right, is Old Flame, Future, which doesn't show up very well on my skin tone, Desire, excuse me, Strive, Pursuit, which again looks like it's going to need some building up. Bottom row, Lover, Covet, Target, Energy, and Love Letter. And hello, back to me. Obsession used to, when they first started, let's see if I can find my, is it down here still? Or did I move it? When Obsession first started, they were in individual pans like this. So obviously you can see the size difference there. And these would pop out and then slot into, I think they had a 6 and a 12 pan palette. Or obviously you can keep them as individual, which is what I did for that contour shade, because I only really wanted the one. They're now obviously finding, probably through public research, that this kind of style is preferred. But if you look, they've actually got little notches here by all of the shadows, so that they'll be easy to pop out. You can just, you know, I can do it with my nail, look, and just see that, lift it out. But it's magnetic, which is great, so they're not gonna fall out of the palette. It also means that, I mean, I've also got the Be Crazy About one as well. So if I was, say, going away for a weekend, or for a conference maybe, and I wanted work appropriate colours and then fun going out in the evening colours, I could rearrange these, keep the ones in there that I wanted for, you know, have one row for daytime and one row for evening. So it still has the sort of personability option. You can still create your own palette, but rather than having to put it in a huge, great, Z palette or equivalent, you've got it in a nice compact palette with a cardboard sleeve if you keep these, to keep this nice and clean. If you don't keep that, it's got pretty good magnetic closure, and all of this coloured pans are in there magnetically as well, so if it does get knocked open when you're travelling, you shouldn't muck up too much. So, all that preamble out the way, let's get zoomed in and bung some of these colours on my eyes, shall we? How's your day been? I hope it's been a good one. Or if it's the start of your day, I hope it's going to be a good one. Now, hubby managed to bump the table yesterday, so I'm hoping that, yeah, I think that's still about the right level. I have got my colour switch here for tapping off, as you can see, and for changing colours. My brushes are clean. I am just colour switching them as we speak, but admittedly it's wash day today for my brushes, so it may look stained, but as you can see there's no colour actually coming off on the brush. Right, final bit of chitty chat before I start popping these on my eyes. When I look straight forward, you can see all of my mobile lid. So I don't have a hooded lid. I do have very deep set eyes. By that I mean if I pop my brush here and then close this eye, you can see I've got an equal amount of lid that disappears back in. So I do get some trouble with shimmers and stuff transferring up onto the upper lid. And if I do a proper cut crease, I really have to cut really quite high on my lid. But if when you look straight ahead you don't see all of this, you've either got a full or a half hooded lid. Doesn't mean you can't follow my tutorial. All you need to do is get a brush, something like this, pick up the first crease colour that we're going to be using, and with your eye open just mark out where you need your crease to be. Now, this will of course reduce the space between your crease and your brow. Having deep set eyes, I'm lucky I have a lot of space to play with here. If you're finding this is really reducing the space that you have got available to you, my recommendation is as follows. Initially try lifting your brow as high as you can while you're applying the shadow. If this still doesn't give you the kind of space that you want, I always start off with a fluffy brush, quite a large one, to disperse the colour out. If you're finding you've got a lot more reduced space, start off still with a fluffy brush, but choose one that's a little bit narrower at the top here. This is the second brush that I'm going to be using and going down to. Obviously if you start with this brush, you're then going to want to come down to something like this. Now although this looks like a pencil brush, it's actually a crease brush, because you can see it's still very loosely packed, but the actual width of brush that touches your eye is much narrower than on this brush. So hopefully that will help all of you to follow and enjoy my tutorials. Right, enough of this. I'm going to stick some colour on my face. As always, if there's a colour that is close to or one or two shades lighter than your natural skin tone, I like to pick that up and pop that, whoa, all over the eye, because I find that shadows from the same palette do work best on themselves, but go careful folks, there's quite a bit of kick up. That doesn't worry me, because at least you know you're getting pigment on your brush. Just make sure you tap off well. Don't blow this away, because when we want to add some more we can go back in and pick that up so it won't get wasted. So this is the shade Strive, which I'm just going to really lightly dust over my eyes. Now all I've got on my eyes at the moment is Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer in shade C1, which I've set, as always, with my Coty Airspun. Now, UK viewers, you can get that from Amazon. To make sure you get a genuine article, even if you're not a Prime member, choose one that has Prime delivery, because if Amazon are responsible for the delivery, as they are on their Prime range, then I believe the merchant has to prove validity of item before Amazon will actually ship it. So that's my tip to you if you're wondering. You do obviously pay a little bit more when you're using a Prime one, because sellers tend to pop a bit more price on, and Amazon pop a little, few pence per item or a couple of quid per item, depending on how much the product is, because obviously Amazon won't pay for shipping it out. But at least then you can guarantee that the item you're getting is genuine. I don't tend to use eyelid primers, partly because I find setting my concealer works just as well, and partly because of my deep set eyes, the capillaries are very close to the surface, which is why I've always got dark circles, and my eyelids are also stained as well. Right, so I'm going to go into Pursuit, because that's the one that looked like it was the least pigmented of the lot. This too is kicking up in the pan, so go steady. Now, we're going to start off at the outside edge here, and I'm going to follow my natural eyeball in a windscreen wiper movement. If you've got hooded lids, follow wherever you've laid your initial crease line out to. That strive really darkened down my base, that's quite disappointing. And then we're going to do little circular movements into the middle, lift the brush up slightly, reverse the direction, and bring it back out. And because I've still got space, I'm going to go up again, go back to the original direction, and twirl to the middle. Because I've got quite loose or flexible skin on my eyelids, because I'm 44 and I've lost an awful lot of weight, and I find that doing this circular movement, and then once you're happy with the placement of it, little tiny windscreen wipers backwards and forwards, just make sure that you get all of the eyelid covered. Now, let's see if we can build that colour up a bit. I'm actually quite surprised, because in the pan that looks grey, but on my eye it's gone a lot more brown. So, I know a lot of people say, oh, you can't get any pigment out of a Revolution palette. You can. If you're finding that you're not getting a lot of pigment, it's because it's been designed that way. Because, if you're used to using makeup, then you're confident enough. Yeah, you can see this builds up quite well. I leave about a brush width or 5mm space between the lowest part of my brow and the colour on my lid, because I find when you put your highlight on, then it just shows up a little bit more. Yeah, see, when you're new to makeup, if you suddenly go on with warmth and instantly get pigment to blend out, it can be really intimidating. So quite a few of the Revolution palettes, you do have to put sort of 2, sometimes 3 layers on to build up to the depth of colour you want, but that's deliberate. That's so you can have a subtle wash of colour, or you can build it up, and so that people that are new to makeup don't get intimidated by it, and can practice their blending by putting more layers on. So if you're not getting pigment off of a Revolution palette, just try building it up. Be patient with it. Don't automatically assume it's a crap palette. Even some big beauty gurus fall foul of that, don't they? But let's not name names, eh? We all know who I'm talking about, don't we? Yeah, we do. And if you don't, congratulations, you skipped the drama. So you can see there, I've done exactly the same thing on this eye, but this is one layer and this is two. So you can see, you can either have a nice subtle look or you can build the depth of colour up. But I really am surprised because this is definitely a greyish, taupey colour, but you lose all that grey when you apply it. It goes on brown, which is surprising because normally Revolution's colours in the pan are usually a good representation of what you're going to get when you blend it out on the eye. So that's, I don't know whether it's reacting to, because obviously when I swatched it, it still looked taupe. So I don't know whether it's reacting to that strive, that first colour that I put down. Maybe there was too much yellow in that one and it's cut through the grey and it's just bringing out the brown tones. I will continue to use the palette and let you know. And I'll do it without popping strive down first. This is a really nice transition colour to start with. Quite neutral. It's not often you find me doing neutral looks, but this palette just really called to me. Probably because it does remind me of Modern Renaissance, but it's, you know, it's not 43 quid, which is quite nice, thank you. Right, I'm going to stay with this big fluffy brush. I've cleaned it off. Purples, reds, blues, greens, and sometimes yellow are the most difficult colours to create, but purples, blues and reds, oh, they're right up there. So if I see those sort of colours in a palette, you know I'm going to use them. So, we've got a shimmery-ish satin purple. We've got 2 matte purples and 2 matte reds. So, I think initially I'm going to go in with Love Letter or Old Flame. Yeah, I think I'll go in with Love Letter to start with. This really does remind me of Modern Renaissance. So if you can't afford Modern Renaissance, pick this one up. I'm going to initially start off exactly how I did before, windscreen wipers. Ooh, that puts pigment down quickly, look at that. Wow. Okay. Note to self, Love Letter, quite pigmented. But this time when I do my little circles, rather than when I get to the middle, lifting the brush up and reversing the direction, I'm still going to reverse the direction of the brush, but I'm not going to lift it up. I'm going to keep the bottom of the brush in contact with that first crease line that we put down, because I still want to see this first transition colour. God, I can't even speak. I need more coffee. So, little circular movements, sticking tight to that crease, and then reversing the direction, still staying tight to that crease, coming back along. And we're just going to blend until I'm happy with that. I mean, that actually is not bad at all in terms of blending. Reds normally take more blending than that, so I'm quite impressed with that, to be honest. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of Pursuit, which is that first colour we laid down, tap off, and where the red meets the Pursuit, I'm just going to very gently buff along that line to make sure we don't lose that initial first colour that we put down, and to really soften where the red blends in so that you get a proper fade rather than the red goes to here and stops and then we get brown. I want a nice seamless fade up the eye, and you can see, I hope, the depth that that gives to an eye. I'll do the same thing this side. I don't speed my tutorials up, and I don't do one eye and then go off camera to do the other one. I know it makes my tutorials longer, but for learners it's so much easier, and I want my films to be accessible to everybody. I want kids just getting into makeup. I want people that have not worn makeup for a while or feel that they're stuck in a rut and always do neutrals and want to try experimenting with colour. I want trans women to be able to because I've got quite a few trans friends, both male to female and female to male. And one of the things that the male to females said quite often was that they weren't sure how to do makeup, but certainly in the earlier stages, they didn't feel confident enough to go up to a makeup counter in somewhere like Boots or, you know, a department store and ask for advice, because that's too public for them. It's too right out there, you know. Again, I've just picked up some Pursuit to blend that red out. And I want everybody, regardless of their age or their gender or their sexual orientation or their skill level, to be able to follow my tutorials. So, if you are a bit of an expert, then you don't have to sit through me waffling like this. I think there's a widget down here if you're on your computer, or I think there's 3 dots up there if you're on your phone, where you can speed me up. I won't be offended if you speed me up, but if you speed me up, tell me whether I sound like a chicken. Because I'd be quite interested to know myself as it happens. Right, I'm now going to go in with my smaller tapered brush. Again, if you've already used this size, you now want to go to a tapered crease brush. This particular one I got from Coastal Scents, and it wasn't expensive at all. So now let's pick up one of these here purples. Which one is deeper, Lover or Desire? Okay, so Lover is this one. So this is more of a reddy browny purple, and this is Desire, which is more of a bluey purple. So I think, so that we get a contrast against that red, I think I'm going to go in with Desire, which is the bluey purple. So what I'm going to start off by doing is just popping a little bit of pigment, just stamping the pigment on the outside of my eye. And giving that a very, very gentle buff. Okay. Picking some more up. And I'm running through that crease line again, doing our windscreen wiper just like we've done before. Just running it backwards and forwards. Now, darker colours do tend to take more blending, that's why I'm doing more swipes. Okay? Now, this time, not only do we have a narrower brush, but when we do our swirly whirlies, we are not taking it up the eye at all. We are keeping it directly on the line. Now, before, we had the bottom of the brush on the line to do our red section here. This time we are doing it directly on that line because I still want to see this red. Alright, so really little tiny circles. Go as slowly as you need to keep control of the size of your blend. Alright? If you need to go slower than me, then you go slower than me. If you can go faster than me, then well done. I'm impressed. My fibro stops me from going too fast because these little tiny movements like this really kill me. But you know, God sends us things to try us, and He decided to send me excruciating pain 24/7. Do you know what? I wish you'd stop getting me confused with Wonder Woman. I really do. I really don't look that good in Lycra. Right. I like that. Now, can you see how that's really darkened up and really emphasised the shape of the eye? Yeah? Awesome. Do you know what we're going to do now? I'm going to waffle at you while I do the other eye. And if you're wondering why I shut this eye and I don't shut the other one, it's because I'm blind in this eye, so if I shut the other one, there ain't going to be much makeup happening. Although if you want me to try and do a blind makeup challenge, do let me know. And if you want to see me, I mean, obviously I'm going to continue to use this palette on days when I'm not filming to give it a really good test. But if you want to see me use any other particular combination of colours out of this palette, then do let me know. Now here, where my eye got pulled around a lot when I was a kid, and by a kid I mean like 5, 6, 7 years old, you can see I've got permanent creasing here, which I don't have this side. And because of that, I end up with these tiger stripes, and no matter how much circular blending I do, if I don't hold my eye open like this at the end, there's nothing will get rid of those tiger stripes. Do not pull your eye around like I am, unless you already have permanent creases there, because otherwise you will end up with permanent creases there. So, there we go. Again, just very, very tiny circles, just right on that line, all the way across. And I hold the brush right at the very end, partly because I stabilise the end of it on my palm, so the other end doesn't waggle around too much. And also because this way you don't put too much pressure on your eyelid, so you're less likely to stretch that skin. The skin on your eyes, both your lid and here, is the thinnest skin in your entire body. If you were to imagine your body was, say, letterhead paper thickness, your face would be probably newspaper thickness, but your eyes are tissue paper. Treat them as gently as you would tissue paper. Right, so I like that a lot. Yes, I've come across more onto the lid here. Doesn't bother me because we're going to stick a shimmer on over the top anyway. If it bothers you, you can always get a brush like this. This is actually a nail art brush, but it goes nice and flat, and you can always just put some concealer on here to reshape the area on your lid that we're going to put the shimmer on. I like to put the shimmers on without doing that, because then you can see the opacity of the shimmer. If you've already blocked out any colour underneath, you're not going to be able to tell that. I want to see whether the shimmers fade through the day. You know, I want to see, you know, is some of this colour going to come peeking through during the day. I'm going to go in with two different sized but similar shaped brushes. Now these are packer brushes, so they're flat and wide. And I've got a small one here for the inner part of my eye, and then this larger one to do the bulk of the lid. The small one is my Spectrum A16. The larger one is a So Eco, but I've had it so long and cleaned it so many times, the name's come off. Helpful. I'm also going to be using this Makeup Obsession Pigment Boost, because once I've put the pigment onto my brush, I will spray it with this. Partly because it helps hold the shimmer on your lid, partly because it tends to increase the opacity and the reflectiveness of the pigment, and partly because I can't like doing it like that as it happens. I don't wet my brush first and go into the pan, because that can give you hard pan. Likewise, once I've done one eye, I will then colour switch this off, dry it off on my hand before I go back in again to do the other eye or to pick up more pigment. Right, so I'm going to start off with Target, which is this It's almost quite a greeny gold. I'm going to pick that up on a small brush, give it a spritz, and I'm going to use this in the inner corner of my lid. This is why I've gone in with a smaller brush, so that I can get right in. And I'm coming out to just the edge of my iris there, okay? So, colour switch, dry off, back in again, to do the same thing on the other eye. I'm going with the back of the brush because obviously where this one's got all those creases, I'm going to need more pigment for this eye. I find this a lot, sadly, but these things are meant to try us, and try us they invariably will. So there we go, nice bit of gold on the inside. Clean a little brush off, pop it back over there. And then with my So Eco brush, I'm going to go into Energy, which is the purple shimmer. I'm going to pack quite a bit of pigment onto there and give it a spritz. And pop this on the remainder of the lid that doesn't already have pigment on it. I'm going to gently feather that down at an angle so that we still keep some of the matte on the outside of the lid to give our definition. I don't want to do a full cut lid. That's actually quite pretty. And then with a dry brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of Target, the gold one, and just drag it across onto that purple, just to really soften where the two shades meet. Again, pack the brush, wet the brush, and blum it on my eyeball. Well, not my eyeball, my eyelid. Sticking it on my eyeball would be ridiculous. Again, coming up at an angle. You can see this lid does move around an awful lot more than the other one does. Clean it off, dry brush, pick up a bit of Target, and gently buff where the two colours meet. I like that. Right, I am going to go off camera, bung a bit of foundation and base product on, and I'll be back to finish off the underside of my eye. Don't go anywhere now. I'm back. See, I told you I wouldn't be long. It was a split second for you. How's that? Blimmin' perfect. Right, I'm going to go in with this flat brush that I spoke about earlier. And I think we'll go into, let's go into Old Flame, which is the other of the reds that I didn't use this time. And I'm just going to gently buff that about halfway, 2/3 of the way along the bottom lash line. And do the same this side. I always flinch doing this one because I obviously don't have any peripheral vision, so I kind of have to rely on muscle memory and the camera to not poke myself in the blooming eye. Yes, I know this looks a little bit stark at the moment, but I'm not done yet. Right, this is a slightly thicker flat top version of what I've just used, and I'm going to pop into Covet and just use that to very gently buff out that red on that lower lash line and just soften it out. See the difference there? Now, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. The reason I always do a lower lash line is because where I have very, very sensitive, watery eyes, if I put anything on my waterline, it'll either be completely gone in an hour, or it'll all coagulate here and look like a horrible black bogey in the middle of my eye, which doesn't look very nice. So I prefer to just pop some colour on the lower lash line instead. I have sometimes used gel liners and stuff on my waterline, but that's mainly for photos if I've done like a particular makeup look and just wanted photos for it, because then I know it's going to be coming pretty much straight off again. Okay, let's pop a bit of mascara on. Let's go for, which mascara do I fancy using today? Oh, go back in, there we go. I haven't used this one for a while. This is the 17 Vavavoom mascara, which has got this really nice, thick, bristly brush, as you can see, like a Christmas tree. So, coat the top of the lashes in case they've got any eyeshadow on them. Wiggle it into the base, blink through. Wiggle it into the base, blink through. That way you're far less likely to poke yourself or somebody else in the eyeball. You're putting it on someone else. And then you can do your bottom lashes like this, but when you've got a huge brush like this, you do risk hitting your cheek or your nose, so you can just turn it up like that and very gently just run the tip of it along the lashes, and then just very gently go over the side of it to just pop them back up again. And I actually quite like the way that sort of, it really does separate the bottom lashes and give you a bit of a, almost like a baby doll look. You know, 50s baby doll kind of thing. Now, I've got these Obsession Be In Love lip glosses, which are actually very opaque for a gloss. You can see we've got a pale pink here, deeper pink here, peachy pink there. Now, annoyingly, these do not have individual names. So, I am going to go for the lightest shade, because obviously I've done quite a dramatic eye. And I'm going to pop this onto my lips. Okay, it's one of these flat doe foots. Seems to pick up quite a bit of product each side though. Now, do the inside of your bottom lip first. And then turn the wand on the side to line the edge. Then for the top lip, we do our 45-degree rule. So we hold it upright, 45 degrees, and we do our Cupid's bow, keeping it at 45. we do the outside edge of the lip. Bring it back to the centre, 45 the other way, and repeat. You now have a nice little M. So you turn the dough upside down and you go from the corner of your mouth to the line you've just made. And then just fill in the remainder of the lip. And that's the easiest way to throw your dough foot on the floor. Glosses, I always do that so they don't get goopy at the corners, but you can see how opaque that is for a gloss. Right, I'm going to go off camera, do something with this mop on my head. Back for my final thoughts. I'm also going to go and rescue my dough foot from the floor. I'm back. As you can see, my hair's doing its own thing again, and I'm still fighting with these tops. The thing is, I specifically bought a lot of these in navy and in black because I thought that's ideal for when I'm doing my makeup, because then it's easy to take off without smudging. Oh, sorry, I've got such bad back pain today. It's easy to take off without smudging what I've done on my face. So, yeah. Right, so the Be Passionate About palette and the lightest of the Be In Love With lip glosses. What do I think of them so far? Well, the eyeshadow's blended nicely. The shimmer shades that I've used are not as reflective as some of the shimmers in some other palettes that the Revolution brands have done, but they're more of a satin than a metallic shimmer. But it does work quite nicely with the smoky colours of that palette. So it'll be interesting to see how this wears throughout the day. I like the fact this lip gloss is so pigmented. But again, it'll be interesting to see how this wears. Will it wear gracefully, or am I going to end up with like a patchy mess? Only time will tell. I will of course continue to use both the palette and the lip glosses, and will report back to you when I eventually get round to do my palette roundup. But there's today's look. I hope you enjoyed this and found it fun. If you did, it would be awesome if you could hit that like button for me, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ring my bell and choose all notifications so you get told every time I upload another one of these videos. Talking of another one of these videos, I've got an awful lot to choose from. Why don't you pop over and watch another one of mine? And once you finish watching mine, there's a whole list of other channels down there that are part of the Beauty YouTuber growth group. All of them are fabulous ladies, and all of them produce fabulous looks. So if you've enjoyed my films, why not pop over and check out one of theirs? Alright then, all that remains for me to say, as ever, is you'll stay fabulous now, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.